Hello, my friend. Thank you so much for your continued support and always finding time to come and watch my videos. It's a great pleasure. Now, today I want to talk to you about something that is messing up the lives of young people. Because majority of young people always ask themselves now, when is the right time for me to get married? At what age should I get married exactly? And you may hear some statistics or research that maybe says that when you're 28 or 29 or 30, that's when you can be happily married. But let me ask you, how many people are getting married at the same age and even divorcing after a few months or a few years? There's no specific age for you to get married, because you find some people, they get married at that age that the research is saying, and some will get married maybe earlier, far much earlier than the research is saying, and some much later than what the research talks about, and their marriages work. Because sometimes you find somebody who got married at 20 and they just have a very happy marriage. They get children, they are very happy in their marriages. So this is what I have to say about when is the right time to get married. And the right time and the best time for you to get married is not when you are financially stable, because finances can always be fixed later. You can get married even if all that you have is some little cash to pay rent or put food on your table. You can be able to bring other things later, to set up a business or to have your own car or to establish your own your own house. You can do that later. But for example, if you get late on marriage and you are 40, you are 50, you may not be able to get children if you are ready. Because if you wanted 5 children and you're getting married at 40, you're already late. But if you get married, for example, at 25 or at 30, and you don't have finances, you're going to fix finances little by little. Because at 50, you can still become a billionaire. So the right time to get married is not when you feel that you're financially stable. It's not when you feel you are in a certain age for you to get married. No. The right time to get married is when you feel ready, psychologically and emotionally, and this is more important than anything else, when you find the right partner for you to get married to. Because some of you are waiting until you are 40, and that's now when you feel desperate, you feel you're getting ready on getting married, and then you just find anybody, and anybody that comes your way, you just get married. And sometimes you're getting married to people who are narcissists, people who are going to be abusive, people who are going to make the rest of your life a living hell. And therefore, the right time to get married is when you find the right partner. That person who you feel they are psychologically mature, that person who you feel they have what it takes, not material-wise, but psychologically, behavior-wise, personality, that they have the personality and the traits that they need to become the best husband that you want for yourself. Now, there's something else about getting married and that story of marriages, because these days you find some parents are forcing their daughters and their sons to get married or to marry simply because wanasema, oh, wewe naona umechelewa, mimi niko karibu kukufa na ninataka nikuwe na wajukuu. And then you're forcing your daughter to get married to just anybody because you simply want children. And let me ask you something, parents. Why would you dare to get your daughter married to a narcissist or to get your daughter married to an abusive man simply because wewe unataka wajukuu? And one thing that parents fail to understand is this: grandchildren or children of a broken marriage, in most cases, they are also broken. Because if you want grandchildren and you get your daughter married to a guy who is going to beat them up, abuse them physically, emotionally, sexually, and all other forms of abuse, and then there are children who are being born in that family, how watoto watakuwa they will be brought up in an environment where wanaona mama yao wanapigwa, maybe hata hao watoto wenyewe wanapigwa, and those are the grandchildren that you want. Grandchildren who are broken, grandchildren who are going to grow up in an environment which is very traumatic for them, and their life will never be the same again. Therefore, parents, instead of forcing your daughter and your son to marry or get married simply because you unataka grandchildren, that's not worth it. Because utapata those grandchildren, but your daughter will be at the verge or at the risk of committing suicide and even themselves dying because they're in an abusive marriage and they can't take it. So utapata those grandchildren, they'll become drug addicts because they have traumatic experiences. They had traumatic experiences when they were growing up. You spend almost all your retirement funds taking those grandchildren to rehabs. Some of them will become thieves. Some of them will become narcissists themselves because they have been brought up in that kind of an environment. Hata wao wenyewe kuoa na kuolewa itakuwa shida because wame grow up na environment yenye wameona wazazi wao wakipigana, wakitusiana, wakifanya vitu hivyo. Parents, now, if you have a daughter and a son who you feel they have already wamepita ile age ya kuoa ama kuolewa, stop forcing them to just get into any relationship. Ni sawa watakupatia how grandchildren, but you are at the margin of losing your daughter or your son because you've subjected them to abusive relationships. And finally, as I conclude on this matter, there are some of you parents who are forcing your sons and your daughters to stay in abusive marriages. Simply utasikia mtu akisema, sasa ukitoka kwa hiyo marriage na already uko na watoto wawili watatu, alafu ukuje waanze kukaa na mimi kijijini, kijiji itasema nini? Ama marafiki zangu watasema nini? Nitaaibika. And my question is, parents, would you rather lose your son or your daughter in an abusive marriage than lose those friends that you have? Because wengine wenu unasikia unaambia mtoto wako, vumilia tu hiyo marriage, ati anakuchapa, hiyo ni normal. Vumilia tu hiyo kofi moja mbili, alafu usijali, atabadilika. Atabadilika with time. Wewe vumilia tu. You're telling your daughter and your son to vumilia in an abusive marriage simply because wewe unajiuliza, sasa wale wa mama wenye tunatembeaga na wao wa guild watasema nini tukienda kwa church? Wale wa mama tunatembeaga na wao wa CWA watasema nini tukienda kwa church ama tukienda mikutano juu mtoto wangu ametoka kwa marriage yake? Wale wazee tumenye natembeaga na wao kama wewe ni you are the father to that daughter or son. Wale wazee natembeaga na wao watasema nini? Nitakuwa na aibu. And nikuulize, for example, if you are the mother to that daughter or that son mwenye unakataa toke kwa hiyo marriage juu utaibika, let me ask you something. Wakati ulikuwa kwa labor ward ukijifungua wewe mtoto, hao marafiki wenye unajiuliza watasema nini? Walikuwa na wewe? Yes. Wakati ulikuwa na uchungu kwa labor ward ukijifungua wewe mtoto, maternity, walikuwa na wewe hao marafiki? Did they share that pain with you? Because now you are so much concerned of what they are going to say, like they shared that pain that you went through when you're giving birth to that daughter of yours. And now you are ready to lose that daughter of yours simply because of your friends. That's a very big shame. A very big shame. And we should not be doing that as parents because we are forcing our daughters and our sons to stay in abusive marriages simply because we don't want to withstand the shame. Why do you care? Why do you care what people are going to say about your daughter or your son? That's your daughter. That's your son. When you lose that daughter, ukimwambia avumilie kwa abusive relationship, you'll be the one to cry. Ni sawa watakusaidia kulialia, but you get hurt more than they will. And therefore, please, let us stop forcing our children to stay in abusive marriages because we feel we are ashamed in the villages or when they come back to live with us. So that is the way to go about it. Parents, stop forcing your children to get married or to marry because you want grandchildren. Also, stop forcing your children to stay in abusive marriages because you regret it later when they die, when they commit suicide, or when they are murdered by their abusive husbands. And again, one thing that I want to tell those people who are in marriages, let me tell you something. It is better to be single in heaven than to be married in hell. Listen to me, and let me repeat that. It is better to be single in heaven than to be married in hell. Thank you so much for watching my video up to the end. If this video has changed your life, share to your friend so that this video can change their lives too.